Hey everybody, welcome to From the Shed. It's episode number 6.
2, 4, 6.
Hey man, I'm real excited about our episode today. So if you caught last week, so we started this story of adoption. So you met my son Dylan, the youngest. So this is my wife Shay.
Hello.
And this is my oldest son Marlin.
What's up?
So we wanted to share with you guys today our story of how Marlin became a part of our family. And man, I probably haven't been this excited in a while because I love this story. They laugh at me.
You're always excited.
I am, which makes this like equally even more exciting.
It's awesome though. It's a beautiful story.
It is a beautiful story. Okay, so listen, a long time ago. Actually, it was a long time ago. So when Shay and I first moved down here to Lynchburg, she was teaching 3rd grade in Amherst. And Marlin and his sister, well, you were in her 3rd grade class.
Yeah. My sister had not graduated, she passed her class a year before.
She was already in 4th grade.
Yeah.
And so, man, Shay just connected with Marlin a whole bunch. And him and his sister used to come and hang out with us on the weekends and stuff like that.
Yeah. I just remember this little fuzzy-headed boy in my class.
Still fuzzy.
Still fuzzy. And I don't know, something just was soft in my heart towards you. And so I remember like asking if we could have Marlin and his sister over one weekend. And you said, sure, why not? And then that just kind of started some weekend times of you guys coming over and hanging out. What do you think about those times? Do you remember that?
I do. It was fun. It was different for me. It was like, it was way different than what I was used to, you know?
Yeah, we had 2 kids at the time. We had 2 little girls.
Yeah, I remember Maddie and Lily being super small.
Real small.
When Lily had a super raspy voice.
Yeah.
Paint all over her face all the time. I remember that.
Yeah. So you had a lot going on in your family at that time.
Yes. Just mom working like all the time to provide for 4 kids because my dad was never there, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, it was pretty hard for her to, I mean, you think about it, just one parent, 4 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really hard.
Yeah. And so these guys stayed with us and, you know, through that time. But then, you know, as we sort of transitioned out of that, we kind of lost connection with you guys after a couple years.
Yeah, I stopped teaching in Amherst and just, you know, started working for Blue Ridge Community Church. And then eventually we got rid of our home phone, which is what you knew.
I still remember.
Somehow the world transitioned from home phones to cell phones,
right,
and we got rid of ours.
What?
And so I remember picking you up later, and we'll tell that story, but I remember your mom telling me when I went to pick you up one time, you know, later as you were a teenager, that you used to sit in the store where she worked and try to call our number to get in touch with us.
Yeah, I still remember that. I still remember even like phone books, like looking through phone books. Some kids might not know what that is.
True.
What's a phone book,
Oh my
Mom?
gosh.
I still remember looking through those for Shay Foster, Todd Foster, you know, but it wasn't there anymore.
So it's weird, man. We just like, you know, all of us had this this connection that, you know, I'm positive was God. And so, you know, over the years, Shay and I would ask questions, man, should we have just stayed more connected with you and your sister? We just wrestled with that a bunch. But something happened, you know, several years later. And Shay, you saw one of your students, something happened to them in Afghanistan.
Yeah, so my neighbor, Kathy Hudson, hello, Kathy, she taught with me in Amherst, and she just came knocking on the door, and she wanted to give me the news that one of my students that I had previously taught had died in the war in Afghanistan. And it just got me thinking about all my students that year, or that I taught all together. And Marlin's face, just like, I don't know if you've ever had something pop in your head and it was so clear that you couldn't get around it. So there was like, I had to find Marlin. It was like, And I said to you, I think we were going to a wedding that night, but the whole time, even at the wedding, I was like, I need to find Marlin. It was so evident I needed to find you. So I came home from the wedding, and you stayed to get, I think you went to the babysitter to get the kids. And when you were gone, I came back and I just started looking on Facebook, and I started friending the students that were in that class and saying hi to them. And if you're watching, hello. And I was like, has anybody seen Marlin Jones? Anybody seen Marlin Jones? And people were giving me a couple different answers, but nobody really knew. And so it was in the summer too, so like you weren't in school at the time. Yeah. And you would have been 17, I think, at that time. So, and then up pops on Messenger this little message from Nita Jones, and she said, hi, Miss Foster, how are you? And I didn't put two and two together.
You actually thought it was one of the girls' friends.
Yeah, I thought it was one of my daughter's friends from like T.C. Miller or something. So I was like, I'm fine, how are you? And I put it back down. And I keep like searching for Marlin, and I've got my picture, my class picture that year, and I'm going through and like friending all the students. And so then she pops back up on the Messenger, and she says, how are your kids? And I was a little bit annoyed at this point because I'm trying to like look for you.
I'm trying to do something.
And I was like, they're fine. I put it back down, and about 5 minutes later, she pops back up and she says, my brother's looking everywhere for you. And I thought, oh, that was your sister. And so Marlin came home Todd came home about that time.
Yeah. I mean, I find Shay like rocking in a corner somewhere. She's like, Marlin was looking for us.
I found him. Yeah, it was just so, I don't know. It was like instantly this piece of a puzzle of our family that I didn't even know was missing was found. It was just, I can't even explain the feeling. So anyway, I talked with Janita for a while on Messenger, and the next day we came to pick you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We came in, and him and his sister came over, and you were right down in the basement. You were out on the couch. I was like, man, this is like a time warp.
Yeah.
It was like, but I remember coming, when I first got here, I was like, I remember this basement. We would just come down here and watch movies. I remember Monsters Inc. was one of the movies that we watched. And I just, one of those things you just can't forget, you know?
So super cool, you know? So we started like getting connected more and more. Marlin would come over and like, you know, come over on weekends and stuff. And again, you had a lot going on, man. You were trying to like legit make it through high school.
Yeah.
And actually trying to get up to go to school.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. I mean, that was the cool thing, though. When you called me, you said that was one of the things that you said you wanted to do, was help me finish school.
Yeah. Yeah, because you were living with your Aunt Bonnie, who really took care of you off and on at different times in your life. You know, but you were still trying to go to school out in Amherst, and Bonnie was living in Lynchburg, and
she actually put me into EC Glass. Did you know that?
She put you in the EC Glass for a little while.
Just a semester.
That didn't go so well.
It didn't.
But anyway, so just, you know, I knew that you wouldn't really have a ride to school, and you didn't really know how you were going to get to school every day, and it was hard just walking to try to get to the bus. So, yeah, we made that offer for you, and that was a big thing for us because we hadn't seen you in 7 years, and I'm sure people thought we were a little bit nuts, like, what are you doing, bringing this teenage boy into your house? And right around that time, you turned 18, so you like even turned an adult.
Yeah.
But we played football that year, and we carted our little kids over to every game. You know,
there's like a little side thing, and we'll probably add this into the rest of the story, is like this amazing gift kind of happened, because it wasn't just about Marlin. You know, we got the gift of your whole family, which is pretty hilarious to me that, like, you know, we feel like God, like, kind of had his hand. He's reaching out to you your whole life, but he literally gave you 2 families. You needed 2 families, dude.
And some. You think about all the teachers who were just that boy needs some help.
Which like makes me, I love looking at this story because I see God pursuing you throughout your whole life. Like, you know, not all kids make it who have your story. They don't make it. And you made it, and I see like teachers and guidance counselors and school nurses and your parents, you know, your mom and your aunts and uncles, and just God using all of them to pursue you.
Yeah. So it's cool. So, you know, that relationship grew, and Marlin kind of would come and stay for a few days, and on the weekend, you know, head back to Aunt Bonnie's or, you know, wherever, whatever family. But then eventually you were like, you know what? I think God's doing something in my life, or I want to anchor down to something. So I'm just going to come and I'm going to be here. So it was a lot for you to kind of like go, all right, you know, because we said, if you're going to live here, man, you need to come and connect with us on weekends, you know.
No hotel.
At Blue Ridge.
That's what you said to me. I'll never forget it. I feel like you're checking into the Foster Hotel. And I was like,
We ain't no hotel.
All right. That's when it became real to me, though. You need to, that I was living a double life, you know?
Yeah.
Like you need to choose one life or the other because.
Yeah. So.
Just a lot of energy.
Yeah. And, you know, so eventually you started coming with us to Blue Ridge, and like God started to shape your heart and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. It was cool the way you did it. It wasn't like what I was used to, you know? It wasn't like, hey, man, you need to go to church with us. It was like, hey, this is something that we do as a family, and we would encourage you to come one time. You know, if you don't like it, you don't have to come back. But I can imagine a lot of, now that I know, there's a lot of prayer going on through that, you know?
A whole lot of
a whole lot of prayer. There's like 3 churches praying. No. But like, yeah, I just, now I see that, you know, it was God pursuing me.
Yeah.
And I think the first like 6 months of you coming to Blue Ridge, you slept through every single message. And I just got tired of waking you up, like elbowing you.
Yeah.
And so Dad and I would just start praying that God would use the words that were being spoken even in your sleep.
Mm.
And God did that.
Yeah.
No doubt. There was like a couple of times where I felt like the pastor was talking directly to me, and it was weird. I think I remember not coming back a couple more times.
Because you were so freaked out.
Because I was freaked out. I'm like, what's happening? How do you know this about me?
Which is so cool. So, you know, eventually you did. You put a stake in the ground and you started a relationship with Jesus, which is really awesome to see how that affected our other kids, you know, Maddie and Lily and Parker, and then eventually Dylan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time is when we got Dylan. And I guess he was about 5 years old. And I think you were maybe 20, something like that at that point. And you came to us as we were kind of going through the adoption of Dylan.
Yeah.
You want to tell that story?
Yeah. And so basically Marlon was like, I want to be a foster. And so we were like, okay, but you're an adult. You can, he's like, I don't care. And I'm a part of this family. And so if you notice, like Marlon's name is Marlin Jones Foster. So he literally in his name carries two family names, which is so cool. We love it, man. It's so awesome.
So at the age of 21, you know, the lawyer came actually to our house. It's much cheaper and easier to adopt an adult, by the way.
But I will say, yeah, I told him, I was like, I now get nothing, man. You're not even a dependent on my taxes.
No tax write-off.
You know what I mean? This is just like...
You just cost money now.
It cost us. Oh, gosh.
So there's this, like, this crazy story. This total unlikely story that God has written in all our lives. And I'm telling you, this is adoption. God wants to write this story in all our lives if we just open up our hands and our lives and let him do it. Let him kind of invite us in and be a part of it. So I don't know where you are in the idea of adoption or what part God might want you to play. It might not bringing somebody into your home. It might be giving somebody rest in their family, or I don't know, being an advocate for it somehow. But God definitely wants to. And listen, I hope that you see this in this story, is that God is pursuing you. He is. I hope you see that and it transfers to your own heart, that God is pursuing you. He loves you. He wants to have a relationship with you. And so we're glad that you kind of hung it out with us today to hear our family story of adoption. Marlin, Love you, man. This guy, I'm telling you what,
He
man.
calls him Dada. True, all the time, Dada.
This guy's greatest gift to the world is his love for people, man. And he hugs everybody. Everyone.
You'll get you some hugs if you come my way. That's for sure.
So listen, man, thanks for hanging out with us. We love it. Have a fantastic week. If you have any questions about adoption, ask us, man. We would love to interact.
Because it wasn't all like roses. You know, it wasn't all perfect.
Oh,
and
no, you were a handful.
He was a handful. We didn't do it all perfectly. We know that. And so, yeah, we'd love to answer questions that you have about it.
Yeah. See you guys. Have a great week.
Bye.